Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here with School Transportation News. Glad you made it to the podcast. Brought to you by Transfinder, the leader in school bus routing. With me today is Mr. Ryan Gray. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be back.
Excellent.
We're in the summer.
Glad to be back, Ryan. Did you have a nice 4th of July with your family?
Yeah, a little beach time, some barbecue before we head off to Reno for our Scn Expo Reno. So putting our August magazine issue to bed, sending that to the printer, and just, getting packed and locked and loaded.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm thinking Scn Expo, right? It's July 15th through the 20th. It's like, I feel like it's not far away, like 10 days or so away. And we're going to be here before you know it. And, there's so much good content, and I'm excited to see everybody come together. I mean, Ryan, I was crunching the numbers with the events team, and we have over 1,000 people coming to the conference. So that is a massive number, a big jump over last year, obviously with all the COVID restrictions and such. And, not that COVID doesn't exist anymore, because I know I get people that I know, they're like, oh, I got COVID. It's just, I think feeling like a little more of a mild cold. And, we all still have to take precautions and be mindful of each other. And, I think that's probably still the topic du jour of cleaning around school buses, being conscious of these things, just being a good neighbor, a good working professional to kind of be mindful of others.
Absolutely. And for all of you who are coming to Reno, don't want to give it away, but on July 17th at the morning at the top of the program, it's going to be a special surprise for folks. So I'll just say that. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but certainly, there's been so much that has happened. The industry's had to jump through so many hoops the last couple years around COVID. And, I think that it's just going to take a little bit of time coming out of COVID, and then you have the driver shortage and then the triple whammy of inflation. It's really knocked some folks for a loop. And, we have to remember that the utmost concern that our readers, our attendees, our listeners have is the safety of the students. And I've had a number of folks say, oh, yes, I want to get back, but, I'm worried about the kids. Maybe they have some parents, some elderly parents at home that they're taking care of. So I think that we just, we're slogging through this thing. It's definitely been a positive for us and seeing the numbers for Reno. Certainly, I think all conferences across the industry, it's going to take a little bit of time to get back to where we were before COVID. But, folks are getting back out there, networking, learning. And, Tony, you just came back last week. You went out for a quick trip to the Texas Association for Pupil Transportation Conference. A lot of folks out there.
Yeah, definitely. Flew into San Antonio and then drove a couple hours south to Corpus Christi. Really nice event. TAPT does it right. And got such a great group of people there down in Texas. And, we saw one of our familiar keynote speakers, Patrick Mueller. He really gave an inspirational keynote to the crowd. I know he's a bit more of a special needs expert for us at our TSD conference, which is November 8th through the 13th down in Dallas, Frisco. But he was outstanding. And, I heard rave reviews about him. And, I think, again, it's kind of just bringing everybody back. Now that everybody's kind of getting back together, people are really excited. Like I heard people say, man, I haven't been to anything. This is my first conference I've been to in 2.5 years. So it's good to see people kind of come back, get more engaged. I still think some people may be apprehensive about out-of-state travel. Maybe there's restrictions, but regardless, we're seeing the summer conference blitz happening. A lot of state conferences are coming back online. I heard great things from Georgia and Florida and Iowa. And, I feel like many states are kind of turning back on. And later this month, too, I'll be at the NSTA conference, the National School Transportation Association, reporting from there, talking about what they're doing out in Niagara Falls, which which is a beautiful location. Never actually been in Niagara Falls myself, so we'll have to see the amazing sights while I'm there and check it out. But NSTA always kind of dives deeper into the issues that face private fleet contractors. They talk about legislative issues, things of that nature, and there's a lot happening. And we've covered a lot also with contractors, Ryan, that are investing heavily in alternative energy. I know we had Doug Gallagher and Ron Halley from Student Transportation of America who graced our cover in the June issue of STN. If you didn't read it, you guys can check that out. But, we see a big push from the private fleet operators to invest and innovate in the areas of green energy. And lo and behold, we had many nominations for a new award that we created called the STN Innovator of the Year Award that we're doing in partnership with NSTA. And if you guys open up the July issue, you might find out who that Innovator of the Year winner is and find out why he is so innovative. Ryan, you want it? Should we tell everybody, or should we kind of leave them wanting, send them to the issue?
I think we can drop it out here. Alex Cook, who's the chief engineer for First Student, basically he also works for First Transit. So this guy, I mean, you're talking about he's literally in charge of tens of thousands of buses across that portfolio. So definitely he's at the forefront of this electrification. He's a really interesting guy to talk to, man. He's working with like 25 different utilities across North America right now. I think it's by next year, it's supposed to go up to about 130 or 135. So just, the massive scope is amazing. So he is being honored for that, as well as, leading his team. And they actually have been designing some electric infrastructure projects and solutions that will benefit both First Student as well as the industry. So if you guys head over to stnonline.com, check out our magazine. You can read all about Alex. He will actually be a podcast guest here in about a couple of weeks. He'll be out in Reno with us. He was actually on a panel with us in Indianapolis as well, but he'll be out to walk the trade show and do some other business out there in Reno, but we're going to have him as a podcast guest. And I think the plan, Tony, is that we're going to give him his award, his actual award at NSTA that you mentioned that you're going to be heading out to a little bit later in July up in Niagara Falls. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to him. Deserving awards. Hyper smart guy when you hear him talk. I know he was on that panel in Indy and they were talking about some extremely thought-provoking things in the EV space. I know we talked a little bit last week. We started getting excited about the potential of solar and hydrogen and all these other fuel types. And, there's just so much there. And I guess, and if I'm not mistaken, he has a very long background previously with Cummins. Mm-hmm. So he knows a lot about engine technology and power plants and those sorts of things. So really an amazing guy to talk to and just tons of knowledge. The brain power there is immense. So really great select. Super excited on that. And, some other awards we're dropping at Scn Expo in Reno are the Green Bus Summit Fleet Awards. We've got 5 categories. So we're really excited to recognize some school district partners, private fleet partners, rural districts, small district, medium district, large district. So we're kind of keeping everybody included based on some categories. And we did that in partnership with NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratories, John Gonzalez out there, and they're an extension of the Department of Energy. So super excited to have them as part of the judging process for the awards. And we're excited to unveil the winners at Scn Expo at Green Bus Summit, nonetheless, on July 17th on the main stage, just after our keynote. Mr. David Horsager, who is all about trust, kind of goes up and tells us how important that is when we are looking at everything that we do as an industry. So really exciting stuff, Ryan. So much happening at Scn Expo. I can't mention it all. There's just too much.
Yeah, there's a lot in store for everybody. So again, registration has closed, but you can always register on site. So we'd love to see you in Reno.
Yeah, no, so good, Ryan. And there's so many vendors this year at the conference, OEMs, manufacturers of equipment, services providers, over 115 exhibitors for people to check out the newest, latest, and greatest products. And our friends at Transfinder, they're going to be there for sure at Scn Expo on July 15th through the 20th. And, they aren't hard to find at the trade show. They're always the loudest guys in the hall. And you guys should go by and check out the Transfinder Trifecta. It's an award-winning product, Route Finder Plus, the browser-based solution, Wayfinder, Transfinder's innovative driver app, and Stop Finder, the industry-leading parent app. And their product Plus is now more than 2 years old and has its proprietary artificial intelligence optimization baked into it. There's also Form Finder, Chat Finder. You got to stop by their booth and find out what all those great products are all about, and make sure and vote for them at the STN Innovation Choice Awards. They would love to get your vote in that software category. So be sure and check out Transfinder. You can email them at getplus@transfinder.com or give them a call at 800-373-3609, and they'll see you in Reno in about 2 weeks. All right, Ryan is talking with Merrill Mueller, Transportation Director for Algona Community School District in Northern Iowa, and he's also the Vice President of the Iowa Pupil Transportation Association. Excited for that interview.
We want to welcome to the School Transportation Nation stage Merrill Mueller, the Transportation Director for Algona Community School District in Northern Iowa. Merrill, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ryan. It's good to be here.
So, as we're firmly in the summer break mode, I know when we were recording this podcast, you said you just finished summer school. So, at the end of June, heading into the 4th of July break, and we were joking, and now you get to kick back and get prepared for the new school year. We're going to get into that in a second. I know there's a lot to talk about. Put a bow on last school year and get ready for this one, but I want to talk about you a little bit. In addition to being the transportation leader there in Algona, you're also on the Iowa Pupil Transportation Association board. Tell us about that. What do you do for them?
That is correct. I am currently the vice president of our association. I got elected to it 5 years ago. I got on the board just by, they voted us on. We're transportation directors or people throughout the state of Iowa that are school related can get onto that board. And then this last summer, I was nominated for vice president and accepted that position.
Okay, so do we have a presidency looming in the near future for you?
I have no idea. Yeah, it's not a very lucrative one by any means. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it's normally goes that way down the road and stuff. So
okay. How did you get involved in transportation, in student transportation? How long have you been in the industry, and how did you get your start?
I started back in 1983 as a regular route driver, and then in 1989, I was appointed transportation director interim as our previous director had some medical issues. Accepted that full-time position in the fall of 1990. And went through 1998, the summer of 1998, and then my family and I moved away.
Okay. So, and now how long have you been at Algona?
I was born and raised in Algona,
okay.
And we left in 98. My wife's job got transferred, so we packed our boys up and moved to a neighboring town about 60 miles away. Made a couple moves between 98 and 2008 when I moved back to Algona. The position as transportation director came back open in January of 2014. So I returned to school transportation as soon as I possibly could because it's kind of been in my blood the whole time.
Yeah. So you were at Algona before you left, and then you
Yes.
came back about a decade
Yep.
later. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, and your career in pupil transportation then has been solely at Algona Community School District?
Yes, that is correct. Solely at Algona. Yep.
You've seen a lot come and go then. And in terms of technology, one of the reasons how we met is, we are going to have you at our Scn Expo Reno in just about a week to talk school bus Wi-Fi, in addition to some other topics on data. But you guys, you're using a lot of technology there, and you're using Wi-Fi. Tell us how that decision came about. First of all, I know we're just coming out of COVID, and a lot of that kind of sprung from that. But some folks were using it before COVID. How did it happen in Algona?
Last year's transportation conference, the IPTA conference in Des Moines, kind of had a lot of technology related items with it. And I'm kind of the type that's willing to take a gamble, and if something looks new and it's for the safety of the kids, I kind of get my mind wrapped around it, and we'll try to work and make sure that it's good and try to get it involved, which the Wi-Fi and our student tracking that we're using is that, because now I can see when students get on the bus, where they're getting dropped off at, what school they're at, are they where they're supposed to be? So if I have parents that call, we can determine where their child is at. And, at all times, safety is the most important thing.
So with your Wi-Fi specifically, you have implemented that for about a year now. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I understand that you use some of the Emergency Connectivity Fund from the FCC to help make that happen.
Yes, we did. Yep.
Okay. So how many buses do you have in your fleet, and how many buses actually have Wi-Fi?
We have 28 yellow school buses in our total fleet, and all 28 yellow buses are equipped with Wi-Fi, including our sub buses.
Wow, that's great. So what has been some of the lessons learned from that? I mean, are you tracking if students are using it, how they're using it? What's been the results of the Wi-Fi?
The results have been great. Since we're such out in the rural district up here in northern Iowa, especially for some of our routes and for our activity trips, the students can take their laptops with them, do their homework, get on the bus while they're going to games or going home, and the students are happy with that. It seems to be positive because we push out the password to them so that they don't have to do anything other than just to open up their Chromebook, and they're automatically connected.
Great. So, I would imagine you have some pretty long field trips or activity trips. What's about the farthest your drivers have to go for an event or an extracurricular trip?
The farthest we go is probably Omaha and Iowa City, which is between 3 and 4 hours away from us.
Okay. So what's the impact for the drivers? Because, it seems that we've heard a lot of anecdotes about how Wi-Fi can actually improve behavior on the bus from the students.
And it does. And I do have some fully lapped shoulder belted seatbelt buses that helps also. But yes, with the Wi-Fi on and for the students that have their laptops, it does. It occupies them so that there's really not issues like there was in the past. Definitely not issues that there was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned school bus seatbelts, Iowa being the latest state to now require those. On those 28 buses, do you have them all equipped with seatbelts, or are you phasing them in as you buy more school buses?
They're just phased in as I buy more, correct. We currently have 8 fully lapped shoulder belted 84 passenger buses.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, one of the big issues of the day that everyone's talking about is inflation right now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Correct.
Fuel prices through the roof. When that war in Ukraine really kind of hit late January, February time, and we started to see those oil exports dry up, we saw the prices obviously skyrocket. What did that do for your fuel budget during the 21-22 school year, compared to what your school bus has been?
It definitely drained the fuel budget. There's no doubt about that. In September, I was paying approximately $3.42 a gallon for diesel, and my drivers today buying it. I'm buying it at $5.56. Of course, that's with the road use tax on it, so we got to take the road use tax off of that. But it's really impacted the bottom line. But it's kind of like natural gas. We have to have natural gas to heat our buildings, so we're going to have to pay the cost of diesel in order to get our kids to and from school and extracurricular events.
Mm-hmm. What has been, or has there been any interest as a result of the fuel prices, or maybe even, there was some, you were kind of tickling the topic of alternative fuels or even electric. What's that done? How's that conversation maybe changed in light of what you're now paying for fuel?
It has to a point, but my routes are so long and my activities are so long, I cannot go with electric by any means, because if we get to the neighboring school district, there's no place to plug them in and charge them up before we come home. And especially for my regular routes around town, I've got some routes that are running, 110 miles, both, morning and night. And it's tough to make the routes on the electric. I do have 3 propane buses in the fleet, knock on wood, never had a problem with any of the 3. It's just, unfortunately, I can't get them in large enough body sizes to help accommodate my load requirements.
So what are those requirements?
Basically, I have 5 to 6 small towns that I pick up from, and I need to be able to pull in there with 1 or 2 84 passengers, and pick up anywhere from 30 to 50 kids at a pop, and then continue on a route. So I can't do that with 77 passenger buses and without just making that a dedicated route. And we're too far away from all these towns just to run a bus that far just for kids and stuff. So we got to pick up on the way.
Mm-hmm. So really, on the electric side, obviously, we hear the infrastructure, and
Yes.
there's literally billions of dollars in federal money being pumped out there to not only help buy clean electric school buses and all the charging infrastructure, but just to get, as you were mentioning, chargers up all around communities, and especially you get out in the rural areas, and say your next closest town is 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles away.
Yep.
That obviously, as you were mentioning, really kind of, hamstrings issues. But in terms of propane, because you were mentioning you have the 3 propane buses.
Yes.
Are those more for like your local routes, like your shorter in-town routes then?
Yes, I use them on the regular country routes, but for the activity trips, they don't go without the, basically a 60-mile radius of Algona, and that's basically where they go out and come back, and they can do that stuff. But
what are you, since you're on the IPTA board, what are you hearing from your members around the state in terms of whether it be electric, propane, maybe even CNG, because CNG is still out there? Do you hear other districts talking about ramping up their usage of some of these alternatives?
Yes, I do. I know there's people out there going for the propanes for sure. That is getting to be a hot topic definitely here in Iowa, is getting the propanes out there. Now that they do have larger tanks for the longer range, that is for sure possibilities. I know there's a little chat about electric buses in the area, but yeah, there's not too much up in this area. I believe down in east central Iowa and south central Iowa, there's a couple areas that are thinking about getting some electric buses with some grants and stuff. And it's all great if it works for their system, if they're in a big metropolitan area or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So at the top, we talked about, pivoting from last school year into this next school year, which, when do you guys start up the new school year?
August 23rd, we start is the day the door opens.
Okay, so just under 2 months away. So obviously, as the industry's listening to this podcast, everyone's been down this road many a time, and setting up routes and bidding out drivers, and of course maintenance. But can you share maybe what your top 3 objectives or goals are in preparing your fleet and your staff for the coming school year, or maybe a couple that stand out and that you're really focused on right now?
I definitely focus on safety, making sure the routes are set up properly so that, we're not making kids walk across highways any more than we have to in order to board the bus, if all possible. Making it safe for everybody, the safety, the simplicity, time constraints. We're allowed 60 minutes for high school kids and 50 minutes for elementary kids to be on buses. So we need to get out, get these kids picked up and get back to town safely. between the two districts I cover 549 square miles, and it's all rural. So I'm pushing the envelope quite a bit in order to make those trips, but we got to do it, and we have to do it safely every day.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier the adoption of student ridership. That also was implemented over the past year, you said?
That is correct. Yes, we implemented that. Everybody gets a photo ID card hooked to their backpack for the elementaries. The high school kids, middle school kids carry it with them. We basically run a QR scanner. Everybody scans on and off the bus. Every time they get on and off a bus, we do shuttles with it. We can track the kid down to basically the instant they stepped off the bus and at whatever location and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And here in about a month's time, I mean, traditionally, I'm sure you guys received a lot of parent calls. Has the student ridership tracking drastically changed that? Where do you stand now with maybe your most common parental concerns at school startup?
The most common concern is what time is the bus going to get there? And of course, like it's no different throughout the whole United States. With the system that we have, we're probably going to roll out, not right away in August, but shortly thereafter, we will roll out the parent app. And that way, parents can log into a dedicated account. They can see where that bus is at, how far the bus is away from them. With that parent app, they will also be able to track where their student got on, got off. Is the student at the right school? Is he a 3-year-old preschool and he got off at the wrong school by accident? They'll be able to see that. Typically, we'll catch that too as a driver, but in case the driver misses it or a sub-driver misses it, that's the ultimate goal with the student app and the safety of all the kids.
Mm-hmm. And it would be remiss of me not to ask you about your staff shortage. I imagine you likely have one. Everybody seems to, at least somewhere, whether it be in the garage, behind the wheel, in the transportation office, somewhere, you could use more bodies. How has the driver and mechanic shortages been impacting you guys in Algona?
It hurts. It hurts a lot. I ended up driving for 2.5 months this spring, because I just had too many drivers gone in order to keep the routes up and everything else. Currently, as I am sitting here right now today, I am fully staffed. That's if my 2 people off on medical do get to come back, which hopefully they will. As far as sub-drivers, I believe that every district in the state of Iowa and probably in the nation is looking for sub-drivers. No matter where you go, you see signs looking for bus drivers. We just can't find enough people that are willing to step up and be sub-drivers. And it really would be great if we could.
A lot of issues to continue to wrestle with, Merrill. I wish you best of luck. Looking forward to meeting you in person in Reno in just about a week or so. Travel safe. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you guys are doing up in Algona, Iowa.
Sounds good, Ryan. Thank you very much for this invitation. I greatly appreciate it.
Hey, special thanks to Merrill, Ryan, for joining me on the podcast episode today. Shout out to our sponsor, Transfinder. Couldn't do it without you. Hey, guys, make sure and check out scnonline.com for all the latest happenings in the school transportation industry. We'll have tons of content, too, from Scn Expo, so keep an eye out middle of the month on that. Don't forget to check out the brand new July issue. It's out on the STN website. Just go to magazine and click on digital editions. You can also find it on our homepage. So make sure and read all the great stories we have available for you. And save those dates, guys. Scn Expo. If you haven't signed up, come on site July 15th through the 20th. And we also have the TSD conference, that's Transporting Students with Disabilities and Special Needs, November 8th through the 13th. Go check that out at tsdconference.com. Lock in our super early bird pricing to save $150 on your registration. And also, guys, share this podcast. Get it out to everyone in your community, local media, administration. Send it out to everyone in your social networks. That's stnpodcast.com. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to pods. We love you, nation. We'll talk to you next week.